In today's video, we are going to see an exciting story of a passenger plane incident. The people who were on this plane experienced something that has never happened to any other passengers in the entire history of aviation. It was something more scary than the actual incident itself. So make sure to follow all the details and let's dive right into it. On 21st of September 2005, a flight belonging to the American company JetBlue took off. This flight started at 3:30 in the afternoon. It was going from Los Angeles Airport to New York Airport. This means it was a domestic flight inside of America. In the beginning, everything was fine. The weather was clear, there was no clouds, there were no storms, and the plane had just received complete maintenance. Its condition was completely perfect. The captain of the plane started speaking to the passengers at the beginning of the flight. Their number was 140 people. He gave them the usual announcement at the start of every flight. Ladies and gentlemen, dear passengers, welcome to the JetBlue Flight number 292. This flight is going from Los Angeles to New York City. During it, we will travel a distance of 4,000 kilometers and it will take us 6 hours to arrive at our destination. We wish you a happy flight. It was the normal regular announcement that any plane captain does at the start of the flight. So the passengers felt safe and everything on the outside looked like it was going very well. But after about 20 minutes from the start of the flight, the passengers were surprised by the voice of the plane captain again coming from the speakers. The captain told them, "Ladies and gentlemen, dear passengers, we are facing some technical difficulties, but everything will be fine. We just need you to be ready for any situation." Of course, the passengers felt anxious. We are in the year 2005, so people did not have phones that record videos. However, one of the passengers remembered that he had a portable video camera in his small travel bag. So he stood up, picked up the bag and took out his camera and started recording. Still, everyone was sitting in their place. No one started screaming or making panicked movements. But it was clear that an atmosphere of anxiety was covering everyone. The captain continued his announcement to the passengers and told them, "You might have noticed that we did not climb to a high altitude. This is because we are receiving a signal from the plane's system that we have a problem with the landing gear." By landing gear, the captain means the wheels of the plane and the hydraulic arms that lift them and move them. So what happened was that after the flight started and the plane took off from the airport, the captain was supposed to bring the plane's wheels inside their cabins, but when he tried to move the lever that lifts the wheels, the lever refused to move. He kept trying and trying, but it was clear that the lever was stuck and had a problem. After that, an error message appeared on the screen of the plane's system. This message said that the plane's computer discovered a problem in the landing gear, specifically in the shock absorber tool. Immediately, a new message arrived on the computer saying error in the turning of the front wheel. Now, with the presence of these problems, the captain decided to stop the flight. So he did not go higher with the plane. He kept flying at a low altitude, almost about 4 kilometers from the ground. Some passengers inside the plane started moving and standing up from their seats, and signs of panic began to appear on them. The captain kept telling them through the microphone that everything was fine, there was no need to panic, and he asked them to be calm. And around 4:20 in the evening, the plane was close to a small airport in Los Angeles called Long Beach Airport. So the captain decided to get close to this airport and communicate with the control tower to give them a visual confirmation from the outside about the condition of the plane's wheels. The captain flew the plane next to the control tower, and the employees in the control tower saw the problem. They saw that the front wheel of the plane was twisted at a 90-degree angle. This was the reason that did not let it go up and enter its cabin. Of course, this was a disaster and a big problem because the wheels are the most important part of the landing process. If the plane lands and the wheels have a big problem like this, there is a big chance that the plane will crash. So now the captain communicated with all the airports and control towers in the area to tell them about the emergency situation they had. What the captain did not know was that the news would reach the media and local channels.
Here's live TV feed from Channel 4 in Long Beach.
Yes, I know I'm on candid camera. They made their presence known.
They started broadcasting the plane and its movements live on television. Most passengers inside the plane had a screen in front of each one of them, and the television channels were working on these screens. So the passengers were seeing the plane they were riding inside live on the news channels. All the channels were talking about the problem happening to the plane and about the front wheel that was twisted at a 90-degree angle. So the passengers in the plane were watching themselves and their plane live on television. They would change to another channel and they would find another channel broadcasting the same news.
I've been told by both the company as well as our in-flight crew that apparently we've made the news. I'm sorry about that. I apologize for any apprehension that this is causing you.
All channels were covering the events. Not just that, but these channels were hosting pilots on their networks and doing interviews with them, asking them about their estimates for the survival chances of this flight. As a passenger and rider on this plane, you do not need anything stronger than this to know that your life is in danger. The pilot was trying to calm the passengers, but it was clear that no matter what he says, it was impossible for the situation to calm down. Every passenger on this plane had their hand on their heart, but the pilot knew his job. He had to do everything in his power to save this flight and the 140 passengers with them. So he immediately started discussing the things they must do to guarantee the highest chances of survival with his crew. They made a list and put a group of tasks that will help them. The first task was to reduce the plane's fuel to the lowest possible level. Because this plane had a long journey ahead of it, they had filled its tanks with about 15 tons of fuel. If they tried to land with the plane, a fire could happen and all this fuel inside it could burn and explode the plane. So the captain and the co-pilot decided that they would keep circling around the area to burn most of the fuel they had. They kept flying the plane over the ocean and circling around almost the same area to get rid of the biggest possible amount of fuel before the landing process. The captain told the passengers that this will guarantee the best chances to land successfully. The captain knew that at this point he had to be honest, because anything else could create a state of hysteria among the passengers and cause even bigger problems. After they brought the fuel level in the plane down to the appropriate limit, the captain communicated with the control tower at Los Angeles Airport. He informed them that they would head to the airport now to perform the landing process. There were airports closer than Los Angeles Airport, but the pilot knew that they would need the longest landing runway, and Los Angeles Airport was the longest at this stage. The captain decided to cut the television broadcast from the passengers and turn off the screens that the passengers were watching their plane on. The captain did not want them to see the moment of landing and get anxious. He wanted them to focus on themselves and everyone to get ready for the impact or even the crash of the plane. But of course, the captain did not tell them this because he knew it would cause more panic. He cut off the screens without any warning, which by itself was something that caused anxiety. But the captain did his calculations and saw that this option was the best. The passenger I told you about, who had a video camera, was recording from the inside of the plane. He knew that these were critical moments in his life, so he pointed the camera at himself and started recording a message for his wife.
Hey Barb, it's me. I'm watching the plane on the TV. We're gonna crash land or emergency land. Just thought I'd leave you a message just in case. It says I love you and everything is gonna be groovy and we'll have a good laugh when I show you this video. But if anything happens, you know, take care of everything. Everything's yours.
This message gives us a clear glimpse into the situation of the passengers and their feelings at the moment. They knew that these might be their last moments. The amount of psychological torture when a person sits waiting for the moment that might kill them can be more painful than the moment of death itself. This is because the moment of death is usually fast, but the moments of fear and waiting for death are much longer and heavier. When the plane became over Los Angeles airport, the captain communicated with the control tower for the last time. He told them, "We will try to land in a little bit. Make sure that all preparations are ready for this moment." The control tower employee replied to him and said, "I am confident that you will be the hero today." The captain replied to him and said, "This is not the goal. All I want is for everyone to get off this plane safely."
So let's make sure that we've got all of the preparations ready for the arrival into LAX.
I'm sure you'll be a hero here.
Well, that's not the point. I just want to make sure that everyone gets off this airplane okay.
This means the captain clearly had the right mindset in dealing with the matter. He put one goal in front of his eyes, that the passengers of his plane do not get hurt. The plane started getting ready for the dangerous landing process. This process had two dangers. The first danger was the friction of the front wheel with the ground to the point that it breaks, so the plane would fall on its front part, hit the ground violently and crash. The second danger was that during the friction of the front wheel, it would generate smoke and sparks and maybe even fire. Maybe one of these hot metal pieces would fly from its place, pierce one of the fuel tanks, and explode the plane in its place. So this landing process was truly dangerous from all sides, but there was no other choice. The pilot raised the front of the plane and started the landing process with the back wheels, which were all safe, luckily for them. The co-pilot kept emphasizing to the passengers inside the plane to prepare for the impact and everyone to stay firm in their places and put their head down in the well-known brace position, the position they always tell passengers about at the beginning of every flight.
Brace, 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 brace.
As soon as the back wheels of the plane touched the ground, the passengers felt the violence of the impact. The pilot kept raising the front of the plane for the longest possible period so that the friction and the biggest shock would be absorbed by the back wheels. This was because as soon as the front wheel goes down, it will cause violent friction and a very strong shock, so he must keep the least possible pressure on the wheels. The front wheel went down on the ground and immediately white smoke started coming out, which shows the burning of the rubber tire. Even the passengers immediately smelled a strong odor hitting their noses. After the rubber tire burned and the metal wheel was exposed, sparks started coming out and the temperature of the iron began to rise. The plane was completely shaking from its front to its end, and every passenger felt the danger. Everyone was afraid their life would end in one moment. But the speed of the plane kept decreasing and decreasing until it stopped completely. For a moment, everything inside this plane was completely quiet, and after that, the captain opened the door and entered to see the passengers while raising his hands in a victory sign. Every passenger on the plane was clapping for him and cheering him. Directly after that, the process of getting the passengers of the plane started. Every one of these passengers, as they were getting off, was shaking hands with the pilot, hugging him or patting on his shoulder and thanking him for his heroic flying that saved their lives. All the passengers, as they were getting off, saw the front wheel, or at least what was left of it. The wheel was literally cut in half from the strength of the friction and heat. It became a half circle as if it was cut with a laser. Of course, the media was waiting for the passengers at the door, and they were all rushing to cover this event moment by moment. After that, a big investigation started to know the reason that led to this problem. The investigation had a lot of technical details, but briefly, the system of this plane, which by the way was manufactured by the well-known Airbus company, had a mechanism to check the front wheel and its ability to turn. The system would twist the wheel and turn it 57 times just to test that the turning mechanism is working. But this test, which was supposed to confirm its safety and ability to turn, led to an overload on some parts that apparently were not maintained at the required level. This load led to the breaking of a piece or the shock absorber tool. In the end, this caused the wheel to get stuck while twisted at a 90-degree angle. This means this mistake was a mix between maintenance that was not up to the level and the plane's system that was doing something that could be considered wrong. So this error was corrected and the internal system for this type of plane was modified so it does not repeat again. But the strange thing is that this problem repeated 5 times after this incident, but each time was for a different reason other than the reasons we saw in the story of this video. This means 5 planes of the same type had the same twisted wheel problem at a 90-degree angle, but every time the reason was different. We will not get into these cases because the topic is very technical, but I will put videos down below in the description that explains the topic in details for those who like these technical things and details and would like to learn. So that was it. Thank you for watching the video and peace out.